Okay.
Yep, so we're called to order at 5 after 2.
Yeah,
The first item of business would be minutes, but why don't we take a skip on that because John is short on time.
sure. Okay,
So Melissa, I think that takes us up to you. Why
Okay.
don't you take us into your case statement?
Okay, has everybody had a chance to look at it?
Yes.
I'm looking
It's
at it now.
okay if you haven't. Eric, would you be interested in sharing your screen again, the document?
Sure, I can do that. 1 second here.
Okay. So one of the things that there are some things that in the second draft that I wanted to answer or address as they came up in the last meeting. So the first issue, the first bit of feedback I got last Wednesday was that we need to beef up the following. What has the foundation accomplished so far, and what have they been able to accomplish with the Friends? There was a request for the current status of the foundation with candor. And there was also a request to articulate that our first objective is to get the library back on track in terms of its fundraising. There were two other issues. The first one was salaries, and the second one was collateral materials, I think, and the cost of those things. So these were financial issues that I didn't feel comfortable addressing by myself. And so I tried to address those three issues in draft 2, and I added what a communications calendar to get us started might look like, broken out by yearly, monthly, weekly, and daily. It is extremely simplified. It is just the bare minimum for annual fund. And I did that so that we could provide an idea of what we're hoping to do with them and show them that and I didn't want to overwhelm them with details. I didn't want them to get lost in the weeds. So I just wanted to give a couple of examples and then elaborate as needed, as prompted by them. Does anybody have any questions before we dive in?
I have a quick question, Melissa. Was I supposed to have a copy of the statement draft 2 that I see in front of me on the screen?
Yes, it was sent to your email this morning around 11. And I sent it at 11 because I was hoping it would be towards the top of your inboxes.
Yeah, but that's not what I
Not get
received.
lost.
The link that you have to, there's a link in the email that you have to click on, Kathy.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Kathy, scroll down through that email and you're going to see a link that says case study draft 2.
Well, okay, I don't see it, but within the
Well, I
same,
can read it to you if you'd like.
yeah, no, I'm looking at it. I can see it. I just didn't receive it this morning, so.
Oh, that's weird. Did anybody else get it late?
I mean, let's see. Mine arrived 11:49.
That's really strange.
Yeah, I
Okay,
just get,
so
I get a bullet. It's okay. I'll follow along and I'll try to read quickly. If just it's your convenience, send it to me so I can print it out with my other stuff. But
I will. I will.
listening.
Let me just quickly read the things that I've added. It won't take long. So if you recall, our opening states that the foundation wishes to consider merging and partnering with the Friends. And then we go into why, and we focus on the Friends having the established, recognized, and consistently successful brand. And so I added on, this is a new element to why. The Friends have worked successfully to put a recognizable, quote, brand, end quote, in the community, and one the community members repeatedly support. I'm going to take out the word members. And one the community repeatedly supports. The Friends have an established donor base which contributes to a consistent, predictable gift pool, and from which the Friends provide much needed materials, improvements, and resources. Without the Friends, library patrons would not have access to the breadth of resources or the special events that they currently utilize and enjoy. The focal point of the highly anticipated Stroh Reading Room, a gas fireplace, was made possible by the generous gift by the Friends. Conversely, after 4 years, the foundation has not yet achieved this recognition, despite extensive research, counsel from consultants, and lifelong fundraisers, professional collateral materials, and earnest outreach to patrons with means. Interest in the capital campaign is not there. COVID was a significant setback in momentum, and the lack of enthusiasm might be a function of out of sight, out of mind. The foundation has received few generous, substantial gifts, making the Stroh Reading Room and entryway enhancements possible. But encouraging additional donors has been challenging, and there remains confusion in the community about who does what. To wit, the foundation cultivated gifts are defaulting to the Friends. We hope to convince you, the Friends, that two potentially competing fundraising entities from the same organization is not serving the best interests of the library at this time. If we share the same goal, to raise money for the betterment of the library, why not merge so that we are stronger together? So that chunk was meant to answer what the kind of beef up our praise of the Friends and to address the current status of the foundation. Does anybody have any feedback or questions about that chunk?
I think it's a pretty compelling statement. I kind of like it.
Thanks. Thank you.
I would suggest, I don't see this in front of me, but maybe your second to last paragraph where funds you stated are being deflected to the Friends. I think it would be safer to say maybe, because we do not.
Oh, all right.
We can't verify that right now.
Okay. Okay, I'll add that. Thank you. Anybody else?
I think it's a compelling case for the foundation, but not as much for the Friends.
Yeah. Okay. So that's we still have the same problem. Are you basically saying? Are you basically asking what's in it for the Friends?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. I'm hoping I'll get to that. I mean, well, let's just go through it and see if I answer that question. Okay, so together we wish to, 1, get Lake Bluff Library development to where it should be, planned and consistent outreach from one entity, resulting in consistent donations, immediate improvements to show impact of donations, and establish measurable goals. 2, eliminate the confusion as to where gifts go and to what purpose. 3, support the Friends with additional outreach and enhance their brand. 4, combine our databases for accurate donor profiles. And 5, ultimately create a concise, effective development program for long-term infrastructure.
I like it.
Eric, thank you. Eric, do you feel like that speaks to some of what the benefits might be to the Friends?
Not really.
I don't have anything else, to be honest. I'm not going to make stuff up. I feel like they're either doing this because they're passionate about the library and they have a goal to raise money to support the library, and it makes sense to them to merge. It makes sense for them to come together to be stronger, or it doesn't.
I think overall, while the membership is changing a bit, that the sense with the Friends right now is still very much towards, the smaller, quieter campaign. You know, I don't think the majority is there where they're going to jump in on bigger, better, more exciting. Even though I think you lay out a very good case that it's better for the library. You know, I do think we'll run into potentially a majority of the membership of the Friends that will feel, well, this sounds great for the foundation and library, but it's not something that I'm keen to jump in with. And what ultimately is the foundation looking for here? You know, what can we do for the foundation? And
Well, what's
you know,
what's the purpose of the Friends then, if not to support the library?
That is the purpose of the Friends, and you know, generally they've been very comfortable doing that in their very consistent way. They've not shown a lot of interest in going big in fundraising.
Right. I get that part.
I think that what we'll likely run into is a combination of folks who are working and folks who are retirees who will look at the proposal and say, this looks like something new and unfamiliar and something that's going to require time that I don't have or that I'm not willing to put into it. And that's my chief concern. And I know I'm being a killjoy here. And Kathy, I do have to admit that I keep coming back as well. The conversation with Cal keeps circling back in my mind from yesterday as well.
Can you share that with us, Eric?
Trying to tone down Cal's comments a little because it was typically blunt with us yesterday. She said as her first initial reaction that she thought that it was insulting to the Friends.
Really?
Yeah. That it, to her mind, it smacked of us telling them what to do and to disrespecting what they've done.
We are asking them to consider something. We are asking them for their time to consider a proposal. This is merely a proposal. This is extremely frustrating.
I am relaying what she said.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Yeah.
And I apologize because I've tried on 3 different devices, and Melissa, all I get are ads for Google Docs. I can't seem to open what you sent. So forget about that.
Kathy,
But no.
I can send you the document in the body of an email.
And I know you will. So my point is, I'm speaking to this without a document in front of me, and I apologize for perhaps treading on your hard work. I think because all I did was listen to it, and maybe that's a good perspective. It seemed a little formal, professional, legal for the library to be talking to the Friends. I don't think the Friends will, and in this I kind of get the Cal point of view. Maybe it even looks down on the Friends a little bit to make this formal, extremely well written, certainly compliment you, proposal, as opposed to, I think the Friends have, their success comes from conversational meetings and taking forever, and I don't agree with that at all. But I think I feel softening the touch to, we had talked about you and I in a sit down with the executive committee, perhaps having bullet points to frame a discussion. I don't know that they're going to welcome. It does sound a little high-powered for the Friends to receive this document. And sometimes you can lose people in the first paragraph or two, and regardless of your great intentions and successful persuasion, you've already lost them. And we don't want that to happen. I think you can kill them with compliments. Somebody mentioned that last week, on all they have succeeded in doing. And actually the foundation's been pretty successful, all things considered as well. We've picked up a major donor right off the bat. We will be completing the Stroh room, with partnership of the Friends this spring.
For all the time that the foundation has existed, I think we've spent maybe 4 months actually engaged in fundraising.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not that we're coming to them with our tail between our legs, and also I think Melissa, you and I talked about this when we talked on Monday. We have to show the foundation has to have forward momentum throughout this whole process. We're not going to just sit back and waste our time. We can do other productive things, and we need to go to the Friends with that point of view that we're considering an event. We're anxious to start an annual fund, but we think it will be that much more successful under the umbrella of the Friends because of your recognition in the community, and because of all the great things you've done, and because of your leadership, and because of our leadership. And we talk about a blending of organizations. But I think, I know John recommended a case study. I think this is excellent. I think it's just maybe a little bit too much for our Friends.
I'm processing.
I know.
Can I just ask, assuming that we come up with the best possible pitch, and believe me, Melissa, I'm not saying that this is not it. I like the way it's written. I think it's very well written. And I think, your statement about not wanting to make stuff up really hits home with me, because everybody sees through that when you try and blow sunshine up somebody's hoo-ha, but it's just what's our plan to go ahead if they eventually say no, even with the best possible pitch we could give them? Because I think that is probably what you're concerned about, Eric, and rightfully so. So I just wonder if we could, we are going to them hat in hand. We have more to gain from this than they do, and there's no denying it. So what's our fallback?
Yeah, I mean, the library has more to gain from the merger.
Yes.
And I think, having an initial meeting is a good idea. If there's no combination, if there's no agreement to kind of combine, I'm not sure there's a path forward for the foundation, to be blunt.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I mean,
Actually, I think Janie and John, you just nailed it.
you can't have two competing fundraising organizations that don't share databases. People are going to get confused, and in the end, you're going to probably potentially have more negative reactions to the whole thing than you would gain by any dollars raised. So
I can share an update on the database information. I did get a hold of Eva Javier yesterday, and she was very, very charitable, as well as very apologetic that she hadn't gotten back to me sooner. So we're getting that information. They're going to send it over.
Oh, good.
We'll have that donor information updated since I think 2017 was the last time that we had asked them to send that over.
So they
I
have
think
shared donor
that
information with us in
one
the past,
tactic
Eric?
that we can.
Wait, Janie asked a question.
I didn't realize they
What's that,
had
Janie?
shared donor information with us in the past. Have they?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's news to me. That's a good sign.
Well,
Yes.
they actually,
Yeah.
they publish it every year.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, their
It's
last,
not like it's a state, it's, yeah.
their last letter of the year is the back page of it is all their donors. So-
Oh, right. Yeah, duh. How'd
So
I
if you
miss
kept
that?
it year to year to year, I mean, that's not a
Yeah.
database, but if you, obviously that
Yeah.
record is there. No, what I was
Okay,
gonna say,
thanks
John,
for pointing out the obvious to clueless here.
John, you
Mhm.
said something, you said the library has more to gain by this. And that's, we're talking about us and them.
Us,
We're not
well,
talking
I'm
about
talking
library.
about the foundation versus the friends.
Right.
Right,
but-
and my
but it's all
point is
about the
by
library.
working together, in the end, the library gains more than, I mean, the library has the most to gain.
Yes.
So,
As
I mean,
it should.
it all
That's-
depends on, it's gonna depend on whether they, can't get their head around relinquishing total control versus, augmenting support to the library for the benefit of the library. So, I mean, in my view, it's gonna come down to whether that's the primary goal of the Friends or whether they like their control part and being able to tell where the money goes. But I think having an initial meeting, sit down, the Friends makeup is changing. So I don't think we ought to make assumptions without having that conversation about where they're going to be on this.
Thank you, John. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
we
and if
absolutely
if they
need
don't-
to make the ask.
Yeah, if they don't, I don't, I'm just being blunt. I don't see two organizations raising money for the same purpose because you're just going to create confusion and that's not going to do anybody any good.
So I think one approach that we might consider on this would be putting something in front of them that doesn't, that isn't a solid yes or no referendum on what they want to do.
Is that the perception of what this is?
It did sound like that to me.
Yes.
You feel like what we're discussing today sounds like a referendum?
No, let's not parse words. It sounds like a,
Oh, no, that's not the discussion
No.
today. No.
it's a sales, it's a pitch, and it doesn't sound, it sounds very much favoring the foundation, but not showing empathy towards the friend. I mean, there's just something that's for the Friends. For a lot of
Yeah.
organizations, this would be spot on. For the
Yeah.
Friends, I just think it's a
Hmm.
little too strong, straightforward,
Okay.
harsh. I don't know what word to use.
Right.
I'm afraid I don't understand the mystique of the Friends. I just don't get it. Are they working to support the library, or is the library working to support them? I don't understand it. I will not be less professional. I thought that the purpose was to put something in writing in front of them so that they could take it back to the entire board to discuss and vote. The
Mhm.
purpose of having the in-person meeting was sort of to make it conversational and put in that humanity and that those extra things that you don't necessarily see in writing.
That's what can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
We can hear you.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I said in my text message. It's just that I think some of that you end up in the chat. Sorry, my audio wasn't working earlier. I think we're having Wi-Fi issues.
Yeah.
I think some of that you just add into the conversation to them, and we can kind of highlight the benefits for the Friends specifically. But this letter, I'm assuming, goes out prior to the conversation, or it gets handed to them at the conversation. I'm not sure.
I've got to sign off. Sorry.
sure.
That's okay.
I've got this
Thanks,
other-
John.
Thank you,
Yeah,
John.
okay. Yep,
Take care, John.
yep.
Well, Jillian, we can talk about that. I'm open to ideas. My original thought was to make it like a mini presentation with not just words on paper with bullet points, but put a little liveliness to it. I don't know if that means making it a PowerPoint presentation or I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. I just want to put this in front of them in some format that we can all agree on so we can get their initial reaction. If they say this is way too heavy-handed, we understand what you're trying to say and what you're trying to do, and we would be interested in a collaboration, but you need to go back to the drawing board again and retool this, or this is what we need in order to collaborate with you. We have to start somewhere. We are having these circular conversations, and I take notes about what we discuss. I go back into the document and I try to address them. And then at the next meeting, I feel like the opposite is being said. I can't keep up. I can't keep up. I really just want to put something in front of the friends to see if this is even possible. So you tell me, I'm asking you, what language specifically do you want? I mean, Kathy, you gave a great example when you last had the floor, but I'm trying to be specific so that I am anticipating questions they might have, but I'm also trying to be chill, for lack of a better word. I'm not saying this is what the library needs to do to be successful. I'm asking them to consider this possibility of being stronger together.
And I think that's exactly the message that we want to give them.
Yes, agreed. And that would be the message that I would hope that we would send. And I would probably really lean more into the collaboration message.
Okay, I need everybody to go back to the document and read it. That's the opening paragraph.
All right, if someone could send me that document.
Okay, but I understand, Melissa, and I'm not trying to frustrate you here, and I can tell you're frustrated and I feel awful about this, but I do feel I should say something. It's not the message that I got when I read it.
Okay, that's good feedback. Then I need to go back and beef it up some more.
So to my mind, where we're at really is that we've got all these redundancies, that we've got two organizations that are going to be, raising for what is, an annual type fund. And it's only going to get more confusing and more chaotic. We cannot continue to do that. We have to collaborate. We need to be doing joint meetings, whether they merge or not. It would be great if we could have somebody here that would join us as a partner from the Friends, that would perhaps join us at some of these campaign planning meetings that we've been having, so that we can coordinate. It would be great if we could get rid of some of the redundancies. You asked, and I had to smile a little bit as far as, the Friends working for the library, or is the library working for the Friends? Well, I mean, both. We do a lot for the Friends. There's no denying that. Website, but basically all their advertising materials, their branding. They've been trying to provide more feedback and input on that recently, I'm told, but generally, most all that stuff we've historically and continue to do for them. So, it's a tight relationship, and I feel that there's strong potential for it to be the foundation to be woven into that, and for that tightness to come between the Friends and the foundation. I think really just emphasizing that, collaborating, we need to be working together. We need to reduce redundancy. Proposal, something to the effect that we'll be they'll be active partners in framing what that partnership would look like.
That's important.
I think often if people will find more attractive a plan that they've had, that they feel that they've had say in pulling together. So from that perspective, I think, you know, that might be something to emphasize, that, you know, we don't want to just, you know, rubber stamp this and to look as we want. We want to work with you on that, so that it will look like something that the Friends like, as well as the foundation. Kathy.
If I could just jump in here, I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm glancing at the first two paragraphs
Mhm.
over and over again here. Melissa's thesis is that the Friends and the foundation consider merging and partnering with the or even just, well, we don't have to repeat the foundation, just the foundation and the Friends consider merging and partnering, period. The library in bold capital letters, it's all about the library. I'm going back, John said something that really hit me. The library has more to gain if the Friends and the foundation embrace their energies, share their successes, and go on from there. So create the fact that the merger is a given because of the library. It's not about we and them, which we're all making it. And they're going to see that also. Make it about the library, because that's the whole point. And all the benefits and all the energies and all the hard work goes to the library. It always has, and it will continue to.
Kathy, will you send that out in an email, what you just said?
I'll try. Yes, of course, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't,
You know, and
Jillian, to your point, and I'm also saying is I don't see, you know, we don't see, the library does not gain from two organizations working independent. The pronoun, there should be no pronouns. The subject is the library. Forget about we and they. Make it the library, and there are support systems for the library, and they should work together.
Mhm.
And that really puts
it's redundant, and yeah.
It puts the responsibility on the Friends and the foundation to partner, because it's about a third person there. It's about the library, not we or they.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah. It's redundant and confusing. And, you know, and from the perspective of the library, that reflects badly on the library. On top
Guys,
of all of the inefficiencies and confusion. Yes, Melissa.
I would very much like you to take a stab at this. You have something very clear in mind. I do not want to waste your time writing draft after draft after draft and not hitting the mark. Even if you gave me 3 sentences of the point that you want to make, that in that opening statement, maybe I can build off of that. But I am not going back to do another draft to have it not hit the mark in the next meeting. We are not moving forward. So I have to ask for your help on this.
Very valid request, Melissa.
It's reasonable.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to waste another moment on this if there is still worry and doubt about how this will be received. I'd rather just put it to bed and do what we can with the foundation. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it'll work, but if there is still doubt, I feel like that's going to come through. That will come through. We either believe in this plan of partnering and collaboration, and we present it on behalf of the library rather than the foundation, or we don't, or we just don't do it.
I think we're all in agreement that partnership is would be immensely beneficial for everybody involved. I think the real question that we've gotten really just, you know, discussion over how we get to yes. And like, but you know, I don't think we've got any doubt as to the advantages and I would say outright necessity of doing this, even setting aside the state of either organization. You know, John and what he said is absolutely correct. I mean, you can't have two organizations running substantially similar campaigns.
I
Even the
agree.
names of the
I'm on board. I'm
organizations-
completely on board
even the
with
names
this.
of
I
the
think we all are.
organizations, even the names of the organizations sound similar. And, you know, and I'm sincere in terms of how that will, you know, ultimately the brand that is being sold here is the library. A lot of people don't actually get the distinction between library and friends. We get, generally when people want to contact the friends, they reach out to us first and then, you know, are surprised that like, oh, they're their own thing. So, you know, that, you know, very much needs to be kept in mind. You know, library is a great brand. We don't want to confuse people and infuriate people by having two organizations running around doing the same thing. That's just
Eric, I
bad
know.
all
I think
over
we're
the
all
place.
Yeah, I
on
think
board
we're all
with
in
this.
agreement there.
Yeah.
We're all in
Yeah.
agreement.
Yeah.
Let's move
Agreed.
on.
Yeah.
Kindly tell me how you wish for me to proceed.
Well, I think, first of all, thank you for your efforts on this draft too.
You're welcome.
And I'll tell you, having taught a fair amount of writing courses in my day, as we all know, the best of writers draft and draft and draft and draft. It's frustrating as can be, but it achieves usually greatness as far as I'm concerned, the best possible product.
I agree with you.
So I want to take a good look at your efforts, Morgan. If you can see me, I'm a printer. I print something out and I write all over it. That's how I process. So I'm at a disadvantage and I apologize. I would be happy to throw in, and I guess, you know, I have the advantage of having grown up in Lake Bluff, and Janie, you can speak to this too. And there's just something, and when you're here for 45 years, you see how things are, you know how it ticks, you know how to walk your way through a conversation. And I think this is one that has to, I really believe it has to start out with a conversation and then a plan. And the plan can be really supportive and engaging, but pretty darn clear as to what has to happen. I think we have a reasonable audience as far as that goes. But I think the more verbally persuasive we are with the first impression, it's always that first impression, the more likely the conversation that follows within the friends, the more likely its success will be, depending on how our first conversation goes. And I guess because there's the feeling that we all know each other, that instead of looking at the document, it's going to be looking at one another and listening and chatting.
I think there's a lot of merit to that. I think that could go a long way.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Melissa and Kathy. And Kathy, I was just thinking, you had some really nice phrases that I did not capture all of, but I think I captured just in my note taking. And as being a couple of people who've been around the block here in Lake Bluff, and as you say, know how conversations go and so forth, would you like to sit down with me and do some wordsmithing?
Surely.
And then
Thank you. I love this.
I would be, because I really do understand, Melissa, your frustration, and
Oh, I don't know that you do, Janie. I'm about to flip my wig.
Fair enough, fair enough. So let's give it a shot and, and run it by. Are we gonna meet again in a week, or were we every 2 weeks, or what were we?
In a week, I think.
Every
I'm
week,
sorry?
because they're meeting in April. So this needs to get done ASAP.
Yeah,
Actually,
we need to
yeah.
jump on this.
That's right.
Yes.
They meaning, and just for Janie, they meaning the Friends meet in April, so.
Yes,
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Melissa and it'd be great if you would join us, Jillian, would like
I'd
to
love
sit
to.
down with this small group from the Friends in March sometime, or.
I would be honored. I would absolutely love that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that would be a good group, us and that, and again, it's all about we now. We just got to remember that we're representing the library, and I just think we've all gotten, it's been our main drive, but we haven't been speaking that way. So we have to be sure at the meeting we're talking about the library. But yeah, Janie, I'd love to get together. That's absolutely,
Okay.
You and I can figure that out. And
Yeah.
we've got a great document here from Melissa. And really, why doesn't everybody just send us thoughts? It doesn't have to be a document, just why the 2 things that you think are the most important about a merger. And
Fantastic idea.
if we can just incorporate that, and using the backbone, Melissa's given us a great one. But just it's got to be a bluffer document. I mean, I know from being married
So
to
much so, yes.
I can tell you all the deals that are made in this town, and Bluffington's over a cup of coffee are pretty extraordinary. So
You guys, if you don't know how true that is, yeah, you're gonna find out. Yeah.
So anyway, between Janie's good note taking and I'm sitting here scribbling all over the place. So let me put these thoughts together. But why don't Janie, you and I'll figure out. Well, you and I can stick on this Zoom for a few minutes and talk about
Sure.
when we can share, and then we'll just.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy sending the draft out. I'll just do it old fashioned email, so I know everybody gets it, and we'll go from there.
Melissa?
If you need a good. Oh, sorry, you go ahead, Jillian.
Oh, no, go ahead. It was a delay in the Wi-Fi. If you're still talking about this.
If you need a good once over for an edit, Martha and I can take a look at it.
Sure.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
provide some editorial suggestions.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually might shoot it over to Kale. We've been corresponding if you got it.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
I mean, she does have a point of view shared by some of the ladies in the group, and she's known them for a long time.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, you're talking about Cal?
yeah.
Yeah. That's a great idea too. Eric, just to make sure, in doing this sort of thing, we are not going to be violating any FOIA problems, are we? Any Open Meeting Act problems? I almost hesitate to ask, but.
No, it's a good question. I suppose the 2 of you do constitute a majority of a quorum for this committee.
But is this committee really part of the Board of Trustees of Lake Forest Library? Is this a little bit independent? I mean, if we consider ourselves independent of that, then we aren't subject to those meetings. This is a different entity, right?
Yeah, if I'm just
Janie,
representing the foundation.
Did you say Lake Forest Library?
She
I'm
did.
sorry. Lake Bluff Library. Yeah, sorry.
There we go.
I think actually,
It is a subsidiary
I think
for
as
the
speaking
purposes
of,
of the open. Oh, go on, Kathy.
I'm just thinking this is really foundation business. So I'm on the foundation. Janie's a villager and a trustee of the library. I don't know. I feel very comfortable.
I feel comfortable doing it too. I just thought I'd throw it out there so that we
I
don't
don't know what
have
content
anybody.
could be objected to by the whoever makes these laws, but
Well,
Yeah, I mean, we've seldom been approached with, spears and pitchforks in the past, so I doubt that we will on this, but just cautious.
well, Eric,
my suggestion is just go ahead and tell me when you're meeting and I'll post it.
There you go.
Okay,
And then we're covered either way.
Ideal.
Nobody can complain that we were in
Okay.
violation of anything if it was a posted meeting.
Speaking
you.
of posting it, is there anyone at the Friends who's got a whiff that we're trying to do this? Do you have any idea if they do or not? And if you post it, I guess you don't have to say, we are meeting to discuss our approach to the Friends, you don't have to put that in the meeting, but.
I think we're well past that at this point. I mean, if they haven't noticed by now.
I just wonder if anybody has said anything.
I don't
No.
believe the Friends have the first inkling that we're
Really?
coming.
I don't think they know.
Really? Okay. Good to know. Good to
Honest-
speculate on anyway.
It's been in the last board meeting. We've had these committee meetings. I mean, it's been all over at this point, and they haven't said anything.
Honestly, it probably wouldn't be the worst thing if they had an inkling that we wanted to talk to them about something. Then they could, then they would know, and we would eliminate any, negative reaction for surprise. I don't think it'll matter much either way, but no, nobody's made any comments
Okay.
as
All
far
right.
as, or asked any questions. And I feel pretty sure that if they'd noticed that at least some of the ladies there would have definitely said something.
I mean, I just don't know if they keep enough. I know there are watchdogs who keep an eye on, minutes, and now that we're posting recordings of it and stuff like that, but I don't know if we've come under any sort of that kind of scrutiny since a couple of years ago when there was a kerfuffle about the disagreement with the school districts.
I really think we're protected by the fact that we can say that we were just trying to come up with the best way to propose it to the Friends. And I don't think that there's need for worry there.
I agree.
No.
Okay, good.
And this is a public
Yeah.
meeting. Anybody in the world is allowed to tune in,
Right.
and they'd already
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
it's,
But, generally, particularly the more working nature of these meetings are, the less likely people are usually to turn up. So,
Melissa had a couple other things in her email body that she
Mhm.
wanted to address. And I thought that maybe if we had time to take a look at those.
we could definitely do that. And Jillian, I was hoping that we could at least get a few minutes for you to talk about some of the event ideas that we've been talking about.
Okay.
So those are the outstanding issues that not addressed. Those are the ones that you're referring to?
Yes.
yeah. Well, yesterday, Cal is the vice president of the foundation. I'm the secretary treasurer. Eric is the president. So the three of us met and talked about a lot of stuff, but we discussed a hopeful merger with the Friends, and on Monday, Eric, Melissa, and I chatted. So we've been talking a lot about this a lot, and there are expenses right now. The largest one is Melissa's salary is actually paid by the library, reimbursed by the foundation. So the question of if the foundation is in a position to continue to do that, first and foremost. However, if the foundation goes on a screeching halt and does no fundraising, then that our operating fund, is depleted. So the question is just long-term planning on the part of the foundation or the merger or the library or whatever. So in terms of a short-term problem, there isn't one. It would be, it would obviously be something that would be discussed. I mean, I would hope that the Friends are going to be delighted and eager to move ahead. And then we're going to get into talking about our minimal expense budget, which is salaries. And then the other would be marketing. And for example, there is a pending rendering of the of the Stroh Reading Room, which was an idea that Cal and I had after a board meeting once. We came upstairs and I said, you know, once this room is empty, it should have a beautiful poster saying coming soon, the Carol and Alfred Stroh Reading Room, recognizing and celebrating Cal's contribution. So that expense really benefits the library. The whole point of it is to bring people in and say, wow, this is happening. So Eric and I have agreed that's an expense that the library will be paying. Other, you know, marketing
Not from the
materials-
marketing budget, Jillian.
Not under your, I'm not taking the marketing budget. It will be managed by the library very easily. And then other things like the database is simply an annual subscription. I would think that that could be supported as long as there's activity financially to the benefit of this umbrella or however we maintain ourselves. I don't think it's beneficial to sit down and talk about those details at an initial discussion with the friends. I don't want to lose them with minutia because those are not, you know, make or break details, but they're long-term details that the library has to figure out the best way to manage. So Melissa, does that help you with those issues?
They do. I completely agree with you. We shouldn't talk money in that first meeting.
Yeah.
That just cannot come up. That's a deal breaker.
Great. No, I agree.
It will generate a lot of anxiety.
Yeah. And
I
would
did
involve,
ask.
go on. Sorry to
I
interrupt.
did. That's all right. I did ask a couple of minutes ago
Oh, I'm sorry.
what you guys saw as my role moving forward. I do appreciate the help. I need it. I think we're going to get to this, the core of our message a lot faster if this is a collaborative effort. And I really appreciate your willingness to take a piece of this. But I need to know at some point, and it doesn't have to be in this meeting, but it has to happen soon. I need to know what you see as my role from now to the point that we have a meeting and afterwards. And just afterwards, until we're up and running, until we have an agreement and we're really ready to apply some force behind this. What's my role? I know there's a concern about salary. There's also some frustration. Those two things combined are going to lead to something, I think. So I just wonder if, and again, no, you don't have to answer immediately. But I do want to go on record as saying that I need this information, not only for personal decisions, but also so that I'm not running down your resources.
Yeah.
I don't want to go after something and then bring it to a group meeting to find out that I still haven't hit it or I'm not going down the right channel. Does that make sense to you?
You know, Melissa, I have a lot of respect for you for bringing that up. I really do.
Thanks.
So yeah, I think it's a very fair question to ask. And
I'm not
something
trying to be
no,
antagonistic.
you're not. I don't see
No.
that as a negative at all. You deserve an answer to that question.
Yeah. Melissa, there's a little diversion that's on my mind that perhaps you'd be interested in looking
Do
into.
tell.
The library was fortunate enough to be granted receive a $100,000 grant from the state of Illinois. Eric, what is it? Build Illinois or Rebuild?
Oh, yes.
Rebuild.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we have yet to receive any of the proceeds of that. Eric has dutifully called Senator Morrison's name, whatever. Morrison's office, pretty much gets a pat, well, you know, nothing's happening. Thank you for calling, answer. So Cal and Eric and I were brainstorming yesterday, and we were thinking what we need to do is have the ability to pursue that a little more aggressively and positively. It's an election year. We have a lot of reasons why, as constituents, we would want to see positive movement from our state senator's office. Cal and I are both familiar with the work of Congressman Schneider's office, who does a dynamite job of constituent outreach.
Yes, he does.
So we were all thinking, gee, if we could muster together the time or a individual. So it's the same person making contacts, pleading our case, just pushing that along. The way the grant works is we can be reimbursed up to $100,000 for capital expenses that we incur. And there's a category
Okay.
of expenses that would qualify. And Eric put together a list for B&G. I don't know, it probably added up to about 35,000. I'm just trying to remember if Janie and Eric remember that number. It was not too long ago you sent out the driveway. Anyway, I'm going to say $35,000. So what we like to do is get that money into our coffers.
Yes.
When we receive that money, we can apply that money to other projects. And when you spend money on another project, you can reapply. And we want to get that. I'd like to see money spent and collected up to that $100,000 because it's just we break even and get a lot of good work with the library.
I think you should.
It just needs someone to start making some phone calls, following up, keeping a log, just kind of filling us in. It's work that librarians are doing other work all day long. That's why that's not getting done.
Well, it's appropriate for me to do that.
I agree.
I'd be happy to help.
Good. I'm going to let you and Eric work on the details of that. But I'm excited about that because I think it's engaging for you. There's nothing humdrum about it. You'll be talking to some good people and hopefully getting some work done. And I think you've got a good handle on making somebody know that it's important that something happens soon. So we'd appreciate
I tend to get a little histrionic.
So
you are passionate about what you do, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Thank you.
Nothing better than passion and energy.
I've got a couple thoughts that I'll throw out here as well. I think searching for some levers that we can put some pressure on as far as getting things going with that grant would be good. I mean, $100,000 would go a long way towards potentially getting all or most of the rest of the work done on the main floor and then getting a start on youth services.
Yeah.
In terms of if stretched far enough and partnered with some library funds that would be available, that's potentially both desks on both floors. That would be huge. Be a big business. So,
and Melissa, I think it's fair to say that.
So that would be great, and it's. Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, Jillian and her wonderful coworkers could point out in newsletters and social media the extraordinary appreciation of the library in an election year for these individuals who have worked beyond the pale to give us the money that we're owed. So we can certainly, lots of thanks on behalf of the library for work done on this grant. Yeah.
And by Jove, we should get that money. We lobbied her hard for that. We lobbied Susan Morrison hard for that. We spent years cultivating her to get that. So
please forward the details and I'll introduce myself.
Yeah, and actually one last point, Cal, who is a dear, Cal reminded us that Senator Morris's predecessor, Susan Garrett, who, if you didn't know the opportunity to know Susan Garrett, that's a shame, a remarkable woman. Susan Garrett got the job done in Lake Bluff. And if we could reflect on Susan's success in comparison to the current, legislators, we would like to make that a positive comparison. So throwing Susan's name into it might not be a bad idea.
Okay. Noted.
I would add to the list of
I know you really.
Yeah, I would add to the list of things there that I think there's a good opportunity to work with Jillian on some aspects of the events that we're looking to pull together here for the year ahead. Jillian is an A+. And
do we lose him?
Can anyone hear Eric? No.
I think we lost him.
Well, Jillian,
well, the only thing. Oh, sorry, Kathy, please go ahead.
No, go ahead. And then whenever you're finish up, Jillian can go on to events.
Yeah, the thing that I am most looking forward to is partnering with Jillian. Let's do it. Let's get started. Partner, here we go. Let's do this.
Looks like he's rejoining.
Jillian, start with your.
Wi-Fi.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, he was restarting.
Anyway, yeah, he's a fantastic program coordinator. Is what I was kind of interrupted, unless I was cut off before then. Talking with Jillian, the point we kind of kept bouncing back to was the fundraising side of it, and how we best go about, making events. And I'm frozen, aren't I?
No, you're
No.
here.
Am I frozen? I'm
No,
frozen.
you're okay.
Right?
You're not. Nope.
Am I?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No.
Really? Okay.
We can hear you.
So everybody's usually when everybody freezes on my
Ah,
Nope.
now you're frozen.
Go ahead, Jillian.
All right. So one of the main things that you have to consider when going into an event is the intent. So we would have to establish what the intent is for the specific event, and a certain type of event depends on if it's for publicity or if it's for fundraising. With the minimum amount of time that we have at this point, I thought if we had the earliest we'd be able to do something is this coming summer, just because of the summer reading club and everything that starts prior in May, and the newsletter and everything like that. It'd be very difficult to get something done prior to June. And then with the pandemic too, it'd be better to try and do something outdoors. So I reached out to Mike Doniger at the brewery to see if he'd be willing to partner on a block party. We had a lot of success at the last one that we did, and we were able to do a raffle fundraiser that way. It didn't bring in a lot of money, but to Eric's point in our meeting, when you're trying to raise money for something specific, that might draw people's interest a lot more versus we were just saying, hey, raffle on this, and it's just fun, so there are kind of opportunities.
we were looking to cover
there.
costs mostly. Yeah.
Yeah, which we did. We covered costs and earned
Which
a
we
little
did.
bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So there are.
we could. Oh, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you, Jillian.
That's okay. Nope, that's
Go
right. Yeah, there's minimal costs with a program like that. Also, the brewery does a lot of the coordinating for it in advance, between hiring the bands and the installation of the stage and everything. It takes some of that burden off of me, especially during a busy time of year for the library. So I haven't heard back from him, but in the past few months, he's made it clear to me that he is interested in doing something with us. So that is a possibility. The other event that I had talked to Eric about, and technically Anna's in the room, not to put her on the spot, but we are planning on doing mini golf. And I know she has mentioned to me in the past that she'd like to speak to the friends first, since they were the original sponsors of that program. But that would be an easy fundraising opportunity as well.
So tell us how that would be a fundraiser.
Well, because it's contained in the building. So you would ticket people at the door.
Okay.
The initial plan at this moment for that program is to be the first weekend in December, because the 127, sorry, I always keep saying that like everyone knows what that is. The village birthday party is happening on September 24th of this year. And I just call it, it's 127 years old. So I just go with that. And so that'll be a very large scale event. That'll be within the thousands, but it's not good for fundraising money. But at the same time, you could do something that's like a raffle type thing there. We did have a table set up with the friends this last time, giving them the opportunity to talk about who they are and what they're doing for the library and that kind of thing. So there's there's plenty of space essentially. And then, yeah, so mini golf would then happen in the first weekend of December, which would coincide with It's a Wonderful Life. which happens in downtown Lake Bluff. So essentially people are already down in the community expecting winter type activities to be able to go to. So it'd be kind of nice to coordinate with something that's already happening.
Jillian, I have a question about the 127. I'll use your term.
Yes.
I've been led to believe that last year with the birthday party, which was a huge success, that the museum benefited by donations or some kind of grants or some kind of financial benefit to them. They were recipients with this event taking place. I don't know if that's true or not. And if it is true, how can we tap into those beneficiaries and see if we could be the recipient this year?
It's more complicated than that. It's not the birthday party specifically. They did not receive funds specifically because of the birthday party. They received funds because of their involvement with the committee. So that was a little bit different. I think that there was a majority of museum people on that committee to begin with. And the initial conversation that like first week or two when I joined the committee was that the first year that the 125th was going to happen, they weren't going to be able to do Ghost Walk. And so what happened is that the committee decided that they would be given $20,000 as compensation for their help to cover those costs. And then going from there, they did all of the work for the dogs on the bluff. And then the money sold from those dogs went to the museum.
Do you have an idea?
Hmm?
Do you know what the net cost of the dogs was?
What they received?
Yeah.
I think it was about 17,000.
Okay. So the museum has done, and Janie, kudos to you as well. The museum has done a great job of representing itself as a small kind of sleeper organization and doing really well financially. So I'm not going to put you on the spot right now, but if you could put your thoughts together on how we too could be a successful, and by we, I'm talking about the library, whether it be the friends or we're talking about the library can be the beneficiary of obviously money in town that gets put towards hardworking organizations. That should be a goal that the library has.
We did receive a $2,000 honorarium for the party specifically, and that is what's in discussion for the next one as well.
Okay.
Jillian, before I forget, can you give me the date of that again? September, what is the date?
September 24th. It's a Saturday. It's pretty close. I think it's like 2 days off of the actual birthday, a day or two.
And is that going to be an annual thing?
Yes. So we
Really?
were approached the night of the party by Elko. I was approached, Mark was approached. They sent a follow-up email that said, this was spectacular. We need to do it again. And so Elko was the sponsor of the fireworks, and they are now committed to sponsoring this next year and the next foreseeable future, $20,000 to make that happen. So right now, Steve Krause is working on a plan to fundraise $10,000 to cover the costs of, and it really is just costs. I mean, as far as what we would need between hiring bands, stage, insurance, just like all of the bare minimum kind of things to make that event happen again. And it's about 10,000, including our honorarium and the Park District's honorarium too.
Okay. Just one more quick question off the top of my head. Unfortunately, I didn't attend. We were at the Citadel Theater event last year, which was the same night. I think there was a Gordon event that night too. There were a lot
There
of
was, yes.
There's always a lot of stuff going on.
Well,
that time
and a
of
lot
year.
of stuff had piled on because it had been canceled the year before. And
Yep.
Yeah,
that too.
we
so
just
many
carried
follow-up
over the same weekend.
Right,
So
right.
yeah.
So anyway, so I wasn't there, but I heard a lot about it, and I wondered. I know obviously families were over at Blair Park because of the fireworks, but is it feasible that there could be a beer tent partnered with the brewery, and within the tent you drop in and get your beer, can there be a silent auction to the benefit of the
Yes.
library?
So there, I mean, I don't know how much detail you want to go into this at this time. Yes, that is possible. I've already pre-invited them to the next one. They made a lot of money off of them being there. It was the best event they've ever been to.
I'm
Wow.
sorry,
Is
they
what-
are,
Wow.
they are,
The brewery,
okay,
it's the best event they've ever been to.
Yeah.
Financially for them. And so the complicated part is if you wanted to do something like that, we would need to rent a tent. We'd need to rent the tent pad from the golf course. And that just starts accruing costs. So it would be something that the library would have to provide.
So to jump into the way back machine, Melissa, I think there's great opportunity here working with Jillian and her amazing event coordination to really help pull together some fundraising programs and look for
Yeah.
opportunities for us to take advantage of existing opportunities in the community.
Okay.
yeah, and if all
Um,
this gets happening, and if the Friends need any, I think it will help persuade the Friends that obviously the library is projecting itself in all sorts of ways. But also just, I mean, it keeps us busy, it raises money. And then Melissa, does this sort of activity and visibility help you in the idea of establishing an annual fund?
Oh, sure. I mean, a significant portion of an annual fund is experiences, face-to-face experiences, so that people are engaged with the library in some capacity.
Sparklers.
So, sparklers at the block party or at the birthday party, mini golf, even doing something like a donor challenge. You know what I mean? Something that puts people in touch with other donors and staff, even or putting the humanity, whether it's a celebration or crowdfunding. That's a
ice cream
huge part
social.
of,
Yeah.
that's a huge part of an annual fund.
See, we need this.
Yeah,
And I know you had talked about donor levels and annual commitments and things like that, and looking ahead to the programs, those are things that would be nice if we had in place when we start getting to events later this year, so that we can talk about those things, have information available for them. Like, the library has this amazing opportunity, be one of our Golden Circle members or Centennial partners or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
yeah, and I would think
We'll have ice cream.
people to donate tents, and I mean, they do that all the time. So we just have to give it some thought. And I remember when the golf course they had a dinner over there, which Janie, you were there, weren't you?
Yeah, that was for the anniversary of the opening of the golf course.
Yeah, so we paid for a delicious barbecue dinner. I know there was a silent auction, I'm almost positive. And there was music playing, and it was fun. Nobody was thinking about money, it was fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
since you've already created the fun from last year, we know it's going to happen again. If there's somehow that the library can be a big part of that fun and profit from it, would be tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, you can rent out the golf house too. There is a
Thought of
limit
it, yeah.
there's a limit on how many people can be in there. I think it was
Not a big-
75.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't forget the paddle hut. That's a great space.
right.
And that's very rentable. And I wouldn't be surprised if the rec center is willing to meet us halfway.
Sure. There usually is a non-for-profit rate for rentals, and then there's often a lot of give and take with municipal services. So
Yeah.
you just don't want to be shy about asking,
Right.
So Melissa, does that help you with your very valid concerns?
Yes, it does. It does. I ask, though, that we keep moving this proposal, conversation, I don't know what, exchange of ideas down the track. I'd
Yes.
like to know who is interested in reaching out to someone on the Friends board? Who would you like to set up that meeting? Who should that initial invitation come from?
Well, I mean, I'd be happy to. We just have to decide, go to Eileen, I guess.
I think you would probably be the best person to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
In the
I
position
saw
you're
her today
in.
at the Jewel. I wish I could have thought of that then. Yes, I would be happy to.
Yeah.
But I'd like to have,
You know, and
some-
as I think about it, yeah,
I'd like to have something more in hand for where we're going with it than, you know, which I.
So let's put a deadline, if you don't mind, let's put a deadline on this outline, proposal, conversation, whatever we're putting together right now, whatever you want to call it. It's no longer a case study. Let's just put a deadline for completion.
For
It needs
completion
it.
of the document.
Yes,
me just-
it needs it.
Yes.
For
Yeah, otherwise we'll finish, we will do this all spring and
Yeah, no, you're right.
you will do it without me. So let's put a deadline on this and force ourselves to be prepared to have a conversation no later than March 20th.
Hold on. I'm looking at my calendar.
I can't remember your date of departure, Kathy. I think
I'm sorry, did you say March 20th?
I just threw that out there. I'm trying to think of when you're leaving town.
I leave here February 26th.
Oh, I'm
however-
in the wrong month.
Yeah, however, and then I'm home April 6th, but the last week of March is family, so I'm sorry,
Okay.
That's just not gonna work.
No, don't apologize.
Um,
So let's
maybe the
start with,
15th-ish or March.
yes. Yeah, I like the sound of that. I don't want to do much more than that. I don't want
Yeah.
more time than that. I think we've really got to focus
Yeah.
and get this meeting arranged. I hope that we can nail down this proposal in the next week and a half. Is that
Oh,
too
yeah.
ambitious?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, let's
Yeah.
go for it.
Okay.
And
I was
Melissa,
about to ask Janie, Kathy, Jillian, is there a time next week that might work for you? So we can get something posted here since we've got all of the on the line.
go back to my calendar.
do you for a meeting up like this meeting again? I mean, or sorry, I'm missing.
No, this
which-
meeting will be next Wednesday again, but
yeah.
a separate meeting for the campaign committee to start working on the letter.
Well, I think that's an ongoing.
Well, not start
Okay.
working. We've started
Yeah.
working. It's ongoing. We're not starting anything. We're just
I mean, I have availability tomorrow
Continuing.
and tomorrow afternoon, and I'm mostly open in the middle of the day on Friday.
Okay.
Next
Janie and I have
week
a
is
meeting
pretty
tomorrow.
open.
Janie and I have a,
Yeah, we've got a 3:00 meeting.
yeah.
But.
Tomorrow I'm not, yeah, I'm available after 3 tomorrow.
We want to shoot for that, Kathy?
needs to be at least 48 hours out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, then, how about Friday?
Friday?
Wait, I've got to find it. This, I tell you, I mean, I don't mean to complain, but God, the
Oh,
library.
Friday is when we have the B and G meeting
Oh.
at 3.
I thought that was tomorrow at 3.
Oh, no, I'm
Eric,
sorry.
you tell-
There's a B and G meeting tomorrow, and then
Yeah.
there's an HR meeting Friday. That's.
Oh, HR, and actually, okay, yeah, Janie's got to go to that. I'm not sure if I'll attend that. Well, okay, we have to set a meeting. Somebody give a meeting time, and if, in the meantime, I'll create a draft. I'll send it to both of you. I mean, we may just do this and, converse briefly if we'll do the best we can. So what's 48 hours from now? 3:00 on Friday? No, today's, yeah.
I'm free.
Janie's.
Yeah, we could do, would
is-
have to be like 4, or
Okay.
depending on how long the HR meeting goes, but.
That's fine.
Why don't we say 4?
4 is-
and you'll-
4 is
you'll
better.
Sign in when you're available, which I think you're pretty much just deciding on documents and timing, so,
Right.
yeah,
So
We
it
have a
shouldn't be-
program I have to set up
bad.
for at 5.
okay.
So 4 to 5,
No, at 5, we have a stuffed animal sleepover party that's starting at 5. So
I have
That
to
I'd
say,
help.
So 4
those are-
o'clock,
I
Jillian?
have the
Is 4
fondest
Yeah, 4 is
memories of
great.
those. I have the fondest memories of those. I would put on my jammies and take the kids over there. I mean, it was just wonderful. I think that's the sweetest thing. So 4 o'clock Friday.
4 o'clock Friday.
And will this be Zoom?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll try to draft something in the next 24 hours and send it to both of you. So feel free to tear it apart. I don't have a problem with that at all. It's just a matter. And if you have any zinging little expressions, get them in there, or reflections on the friends, So.
And may I ask, when you're working on fine tuning the message, at the bottom of the document, I have a proposal like that really loose communication calendar that I referred to. And it's not at the point of actual tasks on actual dates. It's just an outline of what we might add, what we'd like to add to the collaboration. And I've designated who would be working on it, who would lead each initiative. And it's either Jillian or Melissa. So I'm hoping that they'll see opportunities to grow and expand and be the overlords of the library they were meant to be, all at very little extra effort to them.
How do you feel about, in the long run, that there would be a Friends Board representative as part of your small group of I don't know, I'm going to say leaders, but that's not what I really meant. But this Jillian and Melissa and someone from the warming it up to the Friends by having their involvement in decision making is going to have to be key.
Well, I'm sure
I don't see how we avoid that. I don't think that there's a way to avoid that. And I like the idea of keeping the initiators on the same page. Maybe we meet weekly. Oh my goodness. Maybe we meet weekly like we're doing. I think that's the most efficient way to move forward. I tend to be participating in a small meeting with Eric and Kathy, and then I go into a steering committee meeting, and then I have a follow-up with Jon and another follow-up with Jillian, and that's fine. But for purposes of working with the Friends and showing that it can operate smoothly, I would really like the idea of inviting one of them to join us and stay apprised.
Okay. So,
And I think it's key is communication. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this timetable on the document that somebody's going to send me?
Yes.
It's not a timetable. I don't have actual chores on actual days yet. I don't want to overwhelm them. I don't want it to look like we're commandeering their year or their schedule. Right. I don't want it to look like you've already set a calendar to these things. I don't even know what crowdfunding means. So I didn't want to overwhelm them with that. It's just an idea of the initiatives we would add to their existing yearly letter.
Yeah, I'm just asking, since I didn't get your draft, if you could just, whatever all the stuff you're referring to, would you just email me so that I have a copy?
I sure will, certainly.
Thanks. Anything else, anybody?
Did we set a deadline?
Well, that's the only thing that is still a blank in my notes.
Mm-hmm.
So, it seems to me that setting a deadline, Kathy, if you're leaving the 26th, why don't we give ourselves, if we're going to meet again on Friday, give ourselves until a week from today to get this hammered out. And then that's
what I'm talking about, Janie.
Okay.
That still gives us time to have you with us when we try and meet with the friends, unless you're planning on coming back up again. I know you've done
No,
that. in the
this,
past.
I would have to be a Zoom participant. I won't be up in March.
Okay.
I mean, if we can
All right.
track them down in February, great.
I would love to see this, happen with you. Well, I suppose it'll inevitably have to be Zoom anyway, won't it? I mean, it'll be very difficult to do this in person.
Well,
I
case
wanna make
numbers are
it
going down.
Sorry.
I said case numbers are going down. So
I would love to have this meeting in person if we could. do
I
it.
would too, Janie.
it makes
I
a
would
bigger
too.
impact. Yeah.
Yes, it does. And I think because it's so fraught, mostly on our end at this moment, we need to talk face to face. I don't want to battle with, tricky connections and people talking over each other. Let's try to ask, and it's going to be a small group. So let's ask that they join us in person.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'll do my very best. I have family issues that I have to be as cautious as can be, but things are improving. So it's sort of a week to week situation for me. And I would love to.
I
go.
can appreciate that.
Yeah. So, well, but I'm not very optimistic. I'm very optimistic. So. So anything else? Janie and Jillian, I'll see you at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock Friday.
Perfect.
Eric, you'll send us a link. Thank you.
Send you a link. Send you the link in the agenda.
Good.
Get it posted this afternoon. We'll be all good to go.
Wonderful.
All right.
Great.
Good meeting.
Thanks
Yes,
so much,
wonderful.
everybody. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
all your help.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. So I guess we need to, do we need to adjourn?
Adjourn. Yes.
Oh,
I don't think
yeah.
we actually had a.
I will move to adjourn.
I second.
Okay,
Meeting is adjourned at 3:33.